Okay, so now I'm out at the actual market garden, and this little end I've got 5 zucchinis, and I had pretty much given up. Man, look at all the ants. A lot of them are winged. Interesting. A lot of those ants have got wings. So what, females? I need to look that up. But in any case, I'd pretty much given up doing any kind of at least the yellow squash and the zucchini. Just in this area, the bollworms are just atrocious. I mean, unless you want to go to keeping a heavy dose of 7 dust, 8 dust, whatever number they're at now, or some other kind of pesticide on there, you really just, it's a given that at least the first few plants are just going to get bollworms. Some people will do some sacrificial ones, like they'll plant a few, and if they get 1 or 2 fruit, that's good. But as soon as they see evidence of a bollworm, then you yank those plants out and you plant more, and you just hope to eventually have them blooming and producing when the moths that lay the eggs that create the bollworms, the grubs, aren't laying. So you just kind of take it that way. Some will do like a row cover, a fleece, agribond, whatever you want to call it. And but then you've got to open those up at certain times to let the pollinators in. So you try to have them closed when the moths are coming out, but open when the other pollinators, and they may hand pollinate, things like that. There's always, and it's what I did this morning, coming out and inspecting every plant, basically every inch of every plant, and looking for the eggs, because the eggs will get laid typically close to the soil level where the plant enters the soil, and they'll be there for 2 or 3 days before they hatch, and then the larvae go inside. So if you can find the eggs, then you can remove the eggs before they get a chance to hatch. Of course, the bad thing about that is if you miss a single one, the plant's doomed. So, I mean, it may take you a little bit longer for that grub to actually kill the plant, as opposed to having 5 or 6 in there. But, once one's in there, the plant's going to die. I mean, and another technique, and that's what I'm trying here, just to kind of see, because I've heard about it. I thought, well, let me go ahead and give it a try, is basically wrapping, see if I can get in here, wrapping the base with some tin foil. So that tin foil, I started these as seedlings inside the greenhouse, and once I let them get bigger than I normally would, so that I could wrap tin foil around it for about 4 to 5 inches, and then just trying to get a good camera angle, and then be able to put them out here so that the tin foil goes an inch or 2 into the ground and extends an inch or 2 up, hoping that the moth either will not lay eggs, or if they do, they lay the eggs on the tin foil, and of course when it comes open, or when it hatches, then it won't be able to get through the tin foil, and at least buy some time, if not eliminate it. Well, I did that, and then I came out today, and let's see if we can see some, and I've already removed a ton. There is, if I can point to it, right up there at the tip of my knife, you can see it, there's an egg. Okay, there is, down here at the tip of my knife, there's another one, and I've already been over this plant once. I see 2 or 3 down in here. So I spent probably 10 minutes on this one plant removing eggs, and they're still there. And if you notice, they're not at the soil level. I'm finding eggs as high up as here. I'm finding them on flowers. I'm finding them on just all over the place. So I don't expect, unless I want to put some kind of poison on here, and I have no guarantee that there's not already 1 or 2 inside, but I have very little hope that these zucchini plants are going to last more than another week or two. And the bad thing about that then is, you know, they've been here in place for this much time growing, and then if I have to pull them out, then I'm behind. Now I have to find something else to put in these holes, and yeah, I can plant something by seed, or I can have some seedlings ready to go. Maybe it's more squash, and I do actually have some more squash, but they're way behind this. They're just in pots, but that puts me behind. Now, as a home gardener, it's not that big of a deal, I guess. I mean, you could just, if you know that one plant of zucchini is able to produce more than you need as an individual or a family, well, you just plant 3, and a week later start a couple more for seed. A couple weeks later start another couple of seed, and you just keep doing that way. But as in my case, a starting market gardener or an established market gardener, it's all about, I mean, managing the space and managing the time. And I'm not going to be successful in any shape, form, or fashion if I keep putting out plants that as soon as they start producing, I have to remove them and put something else and wait for it to start producing. Okay? Now, I get it that in this area, people want yellow straight neck squash, yellow crook neck squash, and zucchini. I get that. And as somebody trying to be a market gardener, any kind of business, you only stay in business if you have to offer that which people will buy and what they want. Not just what they say they want, but what they will actually spend money on. So it's kind of a conundrum. These squash, and I'm going to pull out my Baker Seed catalog and see if I can find them. These are winter squash, and then I've got some okra in between. And out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 plants going down the row, I think I found 1 egg on all of them, and I found probably 20 on at least each of those 5 zucchini plants. So there are varieties of squash that are not affected or not as affected.
Quick interruption here from, as I've heard somebody say, Future Dave. The eggs on those squash, between the ones I found out at the market garden and looking through some of the squash plants here at my house, I found over 50 eggs. So I'm sure I even missed a few, but I found over 50 eggs on one plant. That's the most I've ever found on one plant. So I'm sure I missed some. And they were all the way from the ground, from where the plant entered the soil, all the way up to the leaves. So anywhere on the stem, anywhere on the stalk going up to the flowers, I found them on the end of fruit. So this business, maybe mine are just trying to mess with me, but all this business about they get laid at the ground level and putting this tinfoil and stuff on there, yeah, it's not true apparently. At least not here in this area with whatever species that I've got. I'm going to keep at it because I want to actually get something off of those plants. But just to let you know, 1 or 2, 10, no, I found over 50.
If my only options to grow any decent quantity of yellow squash and zucchini, and I've got some patty pan I'm going to be trying. I'm trying to find other summer squash that aren't as susceptible, at least to that pest. If my only options are to come out here on hands and knees and spend 10 to 15 minutes per plant trying to find all the eggs, and if I find evidence of the larva in there, trying to chase the larva down and kill it without killing the plant, that's going to raise the price. I mean, I cannot, no business person can put that much time and effort into and still sell the yellow squash as cheaply as some of the big producers, that do 10 acres of it. Now, there is another way. I can definitely grow all this yellow zucchini and yellow squash you want and have it very cheap, but I got to do like they do out there in that field, and I got to just poison the crap out of it. So I mean, it's kind of your choice. I mean, we've actually got at least 3 options. We can put poison on it. We can go labor intensive, which is going to raise the price because it just takes more time and effort to raise it. Or we can start experimenting with and trying some different varieties of squash or squash substitutes that can be grown without having to do those other 2. Squash. This is in the whole seed catalog from Baker Heirloom Seeds. You can go to rareseeds.com. One of many, many great seed companies. And I just want you to see how many different kinds of summer squash. Now, summer squash and winter squash does not mean when they grow. Okay, it has nothing to do with when they grow. The main difference is a winter squash is also known as a storage squash, meaning when it's ripe and you harvest it, you can store it unprocessed for months, depending on the variety and water content and some things like that. I've got butternut that I grew last year, harvested in September, October, November-ish, put it in a tub with some bedding around it, basically the same flakes that I use for my chicken coop that I get from Tractor Supply. I just cover them so that they stay dark and dry and stuff like that. Put it in a tub in bottom shelf in my kitchen. I am still eating those, and it is June. Okay, no slicing, no canning, no freezing, no blanching, nothing. I cut it off the vine, put it in a tub, covered it up. That's it. Summer squash, typically it grows, the fruit starts growing faster. If you've ever grown it, you've got to pick it every day, every other day, or it gets too big really fast. And once you pick it, you got to do something with it within a day or 2. Okay, whether you're going to freeze it, whether you're going to can it, whatever you're going to do, within a week, if something's not done with it, most of the time, especially with our yellow and zucchinis, they're ruined. Okay, so they're harder to grow and more effort to either use immediately or process for storage. Okay, so to me, that's 2 strikes against them. But anyway, we're going to start with the summer squash. Look at all these different kinds. Now, which ones are going to grow good here? I don't know until I try. I have ordered some of these patty pans or some of these scallops to see how they do. I think I've got some white scallops. I've got some yellow scallops. And as far as I know, they can be used just like yellow squash and zucchini. I'm just hoping, as I try different varieties, I'm going to be able to find some that don't have near the pest pressure or disease pressure on them. Okay, all kinds of different zucchinis or zucchini-ish ones. Okay, then we get into some of the more pumpkin-y kind. And I've done the Waltham butternut. I've had great success with that. And you can go in the store and see how much the butternuts sell for. This red curry right here, this is the one that I've got growing out here. So it says the Japanese winter squash, 5 to 8 pounds each. Great yielding and keeping variety. So probably can be used in the same way that you would use like a butternut or something. But I mean, there are just so many different versions of these pumpkins and winter squash, acorn squash. I've got the green cushaw. These can get anywhere from 10 to 30 pounds each. It's not a gourd. I've had people look at them and think that they're gourds. They're not. This is an old southern staple that was used making pies. So the same way you would do a pumpkin pie, you make that out of cushaw. A Native American squash has an ancient history. All these warty ones, these are not just decorative. These, you actually eat these. Okay? So if some of these are adapted, I love spaghetti squash. If some of these are adapted to this area and can grow well, especially dry farming, then that's where we get regional cuisine too. I mean, if everybody grows the exact same thing and eats the exact same thing over the whole country, we don't have any regional cuisine. So I'm going to try to edit this down so it's not so rambly, but bear with us. All of us out here trying to grow stuff. Help us out as we try to help you out. We want to provide you with reasonably priced, healthy, fresh food, but to do that and to keep it reasonably priced and in decent quantities, we need people willing to experiment with us a little bit and try some different things, and let's find out what will grow here that we can keep you supplied with. So anyway,